What's up, everybody? Welcome to League Night. We're here. This is our third episode ever. We have a great show lined up for you. We're really excited about it. We've got, along with myself, Matt, we've got Jamie Thomas in the house. How's it going, Jamie?
What's up? Golden Graham boys, back again. Let's do it.
That's right. Hey, are you excited about disc golf, Josh? You ready to talk about it tonight?
Oh, Texas swing. I'm loving it. I can't believe the season's in full mode.
Yeah, full mode, man. We're going to talk about the win. We're going to talk about all that's going on in the world of disc golf. But first, we want to give a nice, loud shout out and a congratulations to Katrina Allen taking it down at the Open at, there we go again, the Open at Belton. Chris Dickerson also doing it. A very strong field. Wow, their performances stood out. Look at the excitement there. Jamie, you got anything to say about this?
Yeah, I mean, Katrina Allen's just on an absolute tear this year. You know, she's played 985 golf this year if you average out both of the Pro Tours and the Silver Series.
Wow, 985. Josh, is this a big win for Chris or what?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're going to talk some about it being a Silver Series, but as you said, with a stacked field, it seems like he was still figuring out his bag. He actually talked about filling a slot he hadn't filled previously. Coming down the stretch, a big deal for Chris.
I agree. All right, let's go ahead and get into our first segment, everybody. This segment is called, What Do You Make of This? So we just had our first Silver Series event. Now, this is a Disc Golf Pro Tour event, but as classifications go, Silver Series, less points, and maybe an easier access for the players to get into the competition. What do you make of this, guys? I mean, where are we at with Silver Series? Are we going to talk about this for the rest of the week and say how big of a deal it was? Or are we going to say, hey, it's a check mark for them to check box off? What do you think? Whoever wants to take it.
It's 25% of the points of an Elite Series event. So that's good. And I feel like the implications for the tour points are probably going to happen later in the season compared to right now. I would just say depends on who you are. That would be my succinct answer there. Josh, what do you think?
Yeah, well, let me ask, right? So what makes any event, let's use the word prestige. Is it the strength of the field? Is it the viewpoint of the players and how they view the event? Is it media? Is it payout? Right? Or is it the Pro Tour itself giving it the standings? Because I think when you're trying to answer this, does it matter? I think it depends what angle you're looking at. I mean, the Pro Tour is saying it's only 25% of the points, right? And the media coverage is not to the same standard as far as it's not even intended to be, right? It's not covered to the same extent. And so I think that tells you what the Pro Tour's view is. Yet we saw a strong field. I don't know. What's your reaction to that?
I feel like the strong field is definitely a part of this conversation because if the field's there, then I value the event. And in a recent interview, Chris Dickerson said he treats it as big as a win as any because of the competition that was there. I think the players themselves might treat it differently going into it, though. Jamie, do you agree with that? I mean, the tier of the event, the preparation that goes into it might be different.
I think it depends on who you are. I mean, like Paige Pierce doesn't even come to this event because she's spending time with family. You know, she's got things that she needs to do for her work-life balance. But I think there's two things that you brought up that are really important. One is like the players just kind of go with the field and who's there. And I think as time goes on and we have like the merger in the rear view instead of like right upon us right now, it'll be easier to separate big events from small events. But don't forget, Josh, that this event is very close to Waco. So proximity effect really helps out Belton.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing, right? Each event, so we're classifying Silver Series holistically in this conversation, but each event will be slightly different. This is an early season event, right? Which is that a factor? People trying to warm up. I do think proximity, an easy transition from Waco, a few hours down the road to Belton, and then we have Texas State Championships coming. I think that is part of it. But if you look at Silver Series as a whole, what I think you will see is our top tier elite players will play fewer of those than they do the Elite Series. And to me, that tells you the answer. Now, that doesn't mean Belton itself, because of the strength of the field, we can all give it an extra level of credit for a Silver Series, but it's still classified as a Silver Series, right? And so I think that's where you look at it again. Paige not even attending, Eagle not even attending. And he may have other factors such as injuries. But the point is like people are automatically, when they're looking at their schedule, they're saying, I'm filling it with majors, then I'm filling it with Elite Series, and then do I want to do any Silver Series?
Yeah, I think Silver Series going into it, the players just have a different mindset. There's a reason Paul Macbeth is placed first, second, or third at almost every world championship because he treats it differently than most of the players do, I believe. I think the same goes for
Great
the
point.
Silver Series. That might be as well. So that was a great, what do you make of this? We're going to do more of that after this segment coming up. We're going into 2 minutes. All right, let's get the topics up. We're going to start with a topic that is very relevant to these recent events in the Texas swing where we find ourselves now, the wind challenge. So I've played in wind as a disc golfer. I'm sure you have. Do you think playing in high wind conditions is more of a physical challenge or a mental challenge? And what do you think from the players that we've seen so far? How have they handled it? Are they handling it well? Who is handling the wind well? We're going to start with Jamie. Go ahead.
All right, I'm going to give some of my time real quick. Shout out to the Pro Tour people on the road. You guys stay safe. There's some tornado warnings going through
High
Tyler
wind.
earlier.
Very high wind.
So I heard someone were sheltering in like a RV park bathroom to make sure they didn't get hit by tornadoes. So everybody stay safe in this wind so we can get to the golf. But I think it's a sliding scale is the real answer here. If you are known for playing in the wind or you have a lot of that experience, it becomes less of a physical challenge. It's like getting your 10,000 hours in, getting your putts in. You don't think about your release every single time. You just sort of examine the factors, make your read, and execute. And so at that point, it becomes about what is your mental game like that day, and can you execute what you know you've done over and over and over again. So the more you practice something, the less it becomes a physical challenge, and the more it becomes a mental challenge, because the fact is, while power does help in the wind, it's not the end-all be-all. Angle control, super crucial.
Yeah. So look, in the truest sense, it's a physical challenge, obviously, because you're throwing plastic discs that weigh 175 grams maybe in wind gusts over 30 miles per hour, right? And if you don't do it just right, to your point, Jamie, angle control, next thing you know, it turns into a sail, right? So you're talking like precise flight plate angle. How about spin rate? All those things make a difference. But here's the thing. I think when you're playing in a tournament, and here's the catch from this past weekend, where there's no relief from the wind, even contrasting from Waco, which dipped into the woods to give a little bit of relief, and the players talked about that. Here it's relentless. And that's when I think it turns into the mental game, right? So, of course, there's a physical aspect, but hole after hole after hole. I mean, every throw, every putt. Look, missing a close putt is torture, right? You start guessing, second guessing your next putt, even 15 footers, and the wind does that to you. So my take is, in the end, I think the part that gets you, right? So it is physical, but the part that actually gets you is the mental aspect. Look, Paul Macbeth in a recent social media post said, I'm only asking for one thing this week. Texas, calm down the winds, please.
All right. And that's coming from a true veteran of the tour. And I was going to say our touring pros who are veterans, have done it for many years, know and experience courses every year, and they get better on those courses. And the wind, they get better every year learning how to play in places like Kansas GBO or Texas. The experience is huge there. Let's move into topic number 2, where we're going to talk about the fact that there will be 3 Silver Series events within a 4-week span. Do you believe it is an advantage or an disadvantage to play so many events this early in the season, given the schedule? I'm going to bring it over to Josh.
All right. So there's a couple ways to look at it. Obvious, not copping out, but after a couple month off season, if you can call it that, for most of our top players, I think there is an advantage to getting back out there to kind of regain your sea legs, right? Look, most of the elite players know how to compete, and this is not new. So it's not like they need to regain that experience, but a combination of off season and, don't downplay, for some players, refining a new bag, or making tweaks to something they tinkered with in their mechanics in the offseason. And so as of yet, they have limited experience in competition with those small tweaks and changes. And this is the best place to test it out. Contrast with our conversation earlier about Silver Series. It's still a competitive event. When they throw that first disc off the first tee, they're trying to win, but they recognize it's not as important. So they're willing to kind of refine it, get out there early, get out there often, and figure it out. They're looking for every advantage they can get. I think you're going to see different players treat it differently because some of them view it as a different advantage. Later in the season, you're going to see people wind down their silver series.
Winding down. Jamie, do you agree with what he said? Do you have a different take? What's your viewpoint?
I'm going the opposite way on this. I think it's a disadvantage. I mean, let's take a look at the schedule this year. On the back end of this schedule, starting with the World Championships at the end of August, beginning of September, we're going to have a 6-week stretch with 5 events: Worlds, Green Mountain Championship, over to Maple Hill, down to USDGC and Throw Pink, and then finishing at the Tour Championship. I mean, this is a ridiculous stretch at the back end of this season that's going to require everything you got. By the way, if you play this stretch of Silver Series that we're talking about, and you play the Champions Cup, and you play the Elite Series events, you could play from Waco all the way to the Dynamic Disc Open 8 weeks in a row nonstop. I know these players are excited about the season. We're all incredibly excited about this year, but it's a marathon, not a sprint. Josh, you know about that.
Yeah. Josh, running 100-mile races. Yeah, so it sounds to me like you're saying the end of the season, they may be regretting it. It's interesting because the Silver Series, we already talked about a little bit, they're going to become something that maybe all the top pros do not choose to play. So there's strategy here. There is strategy.
That's why some choose it and some don't.
All right, there we go. This is 2 minutes and 15 seconds segment. Valerie Mandahano, moving into topic 3, has now beaten, get this, Kristen Tatar 2 weeks in a row. Regardless of the tier of the event, it's how she has finished. Have we just not given her the proper due these last few years? Is this the next great on-course rivalry in FPO? Now, I know we're leaving a few names out of the conversation, but we're talking Kristen Tatar, Valerie Mandahano. Go ahead, Josh. You got topic 3.
All right. So if you say, right, that we've been kind of not giving her due, I think that infers, right, that maybe she would have been due. And my opinion really is this, is I do think she is the next breakout player this year, but that's kind of my point, is I think prior to this, you can dig into the history. You can see she played great in a lot of A tiers. It's not her first time to win an event. You can see she's played extensively, right, over the last several years, really kind of ramping up. But my point is that's exactly what she was doing. She was ramping up. And so you're not really like due anything from that because there are other players who are also trying to ramp up. Sure, you have different worlds, right, not non-pro worlds, but then she did compete and show up at some of those other events. At the end of the day, I don't think anybody was sleeping on it. I think it is what it is. And now we're seeing that change. We're seeing the tide turn. And sure, listen to this. For the first, they've played each other in 5 events, Valerie and Kristen. And I'll finish with this. The first 3 events, Kristen beat Valerie by an average of 10 positions on the leaderboard. In the last 2 events, Valerie has placed exactly only 1 place ahead of Kristen. So sure, call it a rivalry, but 2 events in might be an overreaction. Let's see what happens.
All right, Jamie, you get the last 45 seconds here.
Listen, I want my dividends on my Valerie Mandahano start paying out now. Here's the thing. She's got the major titles from her junior days, and maybe we've been blinded by the curse of the AM majors. You know, that was a whole thing for the last decade in the sport. Does that translate well? Well, turns out she might be the case that breaks through and proves, because if you look back from the beginning of 2021 on events that are commonly called the Tour, and we'll add Throw Pink in there for good measure, she has only finished outside the top 10 one time in 18th, so she still made top 20. Her average finish is 9th. She's got the win on the Tour, and you pulled it up, Josh. I had to eliminate one of those 5. If you eliminate one of those 5, she's 2-2 when head-to-head against Kristen Tatar. Both of those women have a win in that stretch. Either way, it's a great rivalry.
I have to give Valerie her due standalone as her own, but I have heard her talk about spending time with Paul Macbeth and patterning a lot of her form after his back in the day, we'll say, and her form is going to give her an advantage. It's very clean, it's very mechanical, and it's just beautiful to watch. We'll see some clips here later. Let's get into topic number 4. We're ways out, but USDGC, they signed a 5-year deal with Winthrop University. There's a whole conversation in itself, so we'll let you just speak as you would like to about this. Here's a quote from the event director, Jonathan Poole, some know as JP. This past year, the university was more engaged with the tournament than ever, and they made it clear to us that they don't want us to go anywhere, he said. So this agreement is a reflection on that. Jamie, your reaction, take it away, topic 4.
I do not care if I'm in the minority on this opinion.
Oh boy,
I
here
love
we
the
go.
USDGC.
I won't
think
hold
the
you back.
course, don't hold me back here. The course is just fine. I know people have their things about it, and we could go all day on a show to point out, sort of the ways that logic doesn't always cut the same direction for the entire tour, some of the criticisms that are leveled at the USDGC. But here's the thing. For a very long time, this event has been one of the best, if not the best and most well-run events in the history of our sport. I mean, we talk about trying to grow prestige and trying to get clout, put the tour on the map, for example. Just think about one hole at that entire course. You already know, I don't have to say it out loud. You're thinking about hole 17. You're thinking about how the ending of that course generally has been a massive difference maker. When it comes down to it, win, lose, or draw, love the course, hate the course, it's the most highly rated field, and it always delivers. Always.
Always. Interesting take there. I like it. Josh, what do you have?
All right. So USDGC is one of the top events in our sport, right? Like clearly some people would argue it's one. If you're asking me, I'd probably put Worlds at 1, US Championships at 2, maybe European Open at 3. Look, they have a lot of unique features there, but the big one is the course. And look, part of what differentiates them is the fact that it continues to play at the same venue. That is a big deal, right? Compared to Worlds, which rotates around. So I agree, same course. There's been lots of adjustments over the year, but year after year. So yes, it's a big deal that they're back. I say it's good for them. As our sport grows, nothing should be taken for granted, including our famous venues. Here's the thing. I've been a little skeptical, but I hear that it's because I've never been. So watching from the sidelines, it's kind of like, they're throwing around stadiums and over, parking lots. But look, the venue has all the history. If I ever attend in person, it's going to win me over. I can't really debate that. So it looks like I got to schedule a road trip.
I'll see you there this year, Josh.
All right.
I'll meet you there.
League night hits the road. So I think, and I'm taking my opportunity here to say, I feel like Josh's point was fantastic there, to the same idea that the MVP Open, the course Maple Hill, it is #1 in the world for a reason, and it's not purely because of the quality. There's so much history there at the venue itself. If it ever moved, the MVP Open would not be the same. So USDGC, while there's arguments to be made to move it somewhere else, I think, Jamie, you're right. It's going to stay, and we know at least for 5 more years.
At least the next 5. We'll see after that.
MVP Open also signed, a 10-year deal?
10-year
it's not going anywhere either, which is fantastic.
That's right. All right, let's get into our next segment called Show and Tell. All right, guys. We lined up, or I should say you lined up, some of your favorite clips from this season so far. So I'm going to go ahead and toss it to Jamie. Jamie, what did you bring us today? Let's get into it.
Show and tell. It's
Right.
Nico's ace. Come on, this is one of our favorite clips.
This is a
Look
good
at where
one.
he's throwing. He just launches this thing somewhere into the Sonoran Desert, and luckily, Blaine was on camera that day. He pans left, finds the basket. Just watch this again. Where are you going? There's no basket. But it's so perfect, and it's so Nico, and we didn't have time to put his celebration in this clip.
No,
guys,
the
'cause it's way
reaction is
too long.
half of it. I agree it's not in the clip, but you got to love the whole thing.
I feel like there was a moment in the reaction that we don't have, and I apologize, but where I think he nearly punched somebody in the face just from pure excitement, a few somersaults and rolls. And Sonora Desert, is that where you said this was, Jamie? I mean, that's pretty spectacular alone. You can say he has an ace in Sonora.
Ooh, yeah, it just sounds cool.
It does. It sounds great.
Yeah, and look,
It's all he ever wanted.
Yeah, exactly. All aces are awesome, but this honestly is a truly incredible one, right? I mean, you get a skip, you might say that's got a small margin of luck, but this is a pure hyzer, the right distance, the right depth, the right read, going to put it right under the basket, and it jumps right in, and it is just fun to watch.
It is fun to watch. Josh, I think you brought us something. So let's go ahead and get into that here. Tell
I
us
did.
about it.
So speaking of fun to watch, a totally different dynamic, right? This is the perfect upshot for the perfect moment. You recognize it. It was just 2 weekends ago. Waco, final round, the close competition. We just talked about this between Valerie and Kristen. Look, Valerie finds herself with a good tee shot, and then she executes. I'm calling it the perfect upshot. And here's what I want to say. Not only was it the perfect shot in the perfect moment for that particular tournament, right? Pretty much sealed the deal, but is it actually possible we'll always be able to look back at that throw as the true breakout moment seared in our memories for a new FPO great? I don't know. What do you think? Will this be the one we remember?
My reaction immediately in the moment as it happened was that was possibly, and I'll just say, it was one of the most clutch shots ever, especially, no, I'm not even gonna classify it FPO, MPO. It was extremely awesome to watch. Jamie, I'm sure you had similar reactions, but give it to us.
Guys, I don't know if I have ever thrown a shot that good. Like, I don't care, just like in the backyard playing a left to right wind. I gotta be right to left for me since I'm a lefty, but you know, playing to that crosswind into the hyzer and just nestling it down like that, that's the stuff you dream about. I don't care what level you play at. And for her to do it in that moment, come on, that's shot of the year front runner for me right now.
Yeah, and players around her through OB, right? Like to the left of the water, to the right. So yeah, and like you said, the wind, the moment. And by the way, Jamie, I think I've thrown 1 or 2 shots that are that good, but they were completely by accident. So I think that the difference is she knew the moment, the pressure. She thought about the throw and what needed to happen, and she executed it. So it's
A
awesome.
new bag.
And Josh,
She's one
I
of the
think,
new bags this year.
yeah, new bag. And Josh, as you just mentioned some of the stats there, this was the only birdie in her division on hole
That
17
entire round.
of the day.
In that entire round.
Yeah,
Crazy.
incredible.
No one else did it.
And at a moment where she had options, but she just, that was the time. That was the time.
It's fun.
An emotional story as well. All right, let's move over to, this is the clip that I brought. This is Calvin Heimberg. This is at the Open at Belton that just took place. This is 450 feet. Now, everyone doesn't care how far I throw, but on a good rip, I'm barely touching 400, maybe downhill. He does it 450 feet uphill, the only eagle of the whole tournament on hole 4, a 2 on a par 4, and he hits the putt. Josh, you've seen Calvin throw in person. Like, he throws far, but this is
I think
something
people are
else.
starting to recognize. We saw in the distance competition at All-Star Weekend and here, but it's a unique kind of distance, right? So, which works on this hole amazingly. One, because it's uphill, but it's also he's throwing down like a narrow pipe. It's like a tunnel,
Yes.
right? So he can't throw this giant flex shot. He's not throwing some crazy hyzer and getting 600 feet as it sails. He literally has to look down a tunnel and rip it straight as can be. It even gets a nice forward skip at the end. Don't underestimate, Calvin's distance and ability to throw it straight down a tunnel. Obviously an asset for him. It was
What's the
incredible.
best way, Jamie, if you had to tell somebody how far this was? I mean, do you have any great illustrations for it?
Oh my goodness. Like this is one of those things that's really hard to because when you hear 450, it's like, yeah, everybody throws that on tour, but like you guys are saying, it's in this hallway, not flat, uphill. Oh, and by the way, watch when this thing plays through again. Did you see the wind switches 180 degrees on him?
Yeah.
He's going left to right off this tee. Watch when the disc gets out of the gap, and then watch when it cuts to the putt. It's pure right to left.
Yeah.
And when we transition out of this, I just have to leave with this point. 5-time world champion Paul Macbeth took a 7 on this hole in round 1. Now, at the whole event, there was only one person to play worse than that, but only a few played 7 or worse, and Paul was one of those. So this was a 4-stroke swing on this hole only. I know we don't play disc golf that way.
That's a 5-stroke swing, right?
But
you got a 2 here,
5.
7, 5 strokes.
5. Paul would have won. Paul would have won with a par. Maybe. I'd have to play that again.
Yeah,
it's either a birdie or par. He would have won the event. This hole played so well for Calvin, not so well for Paul. Okay, let's go into this.
How do you switch the wind like that?
Yeah, it
How,
did.
Belton? How do you do that?
Yeah, we talked about the wind. We'll keep talking about it. Here we go. This is the other one I'm bringing. Kristen Tatar. She throws it in at LVC. And first of all, you could tell her heart was pounding. She's like, wow, like I just did that. I'm really proud of myself. That feels really good. I didn't expect that. But one of my favorite moments here, and we can all talk about this, is when you watch, they're going to show it here again, when she goes to throw, look in the background, one of her greatest fans is there watching and is just so happy, standing up, hands in the air. Watch, you can see it again. Jamie, what do you think?
It's like, are these other people even watching this? She just threw it in from like straddling out from a bush. And there's one guy out there that recognized how great of a shot that was.
And it was still semi-slow motion, right? He's like just standing.
Does that shot go through the tree branch?
It's like just shy of it. It's hard to tell, but it's like, it's perfect because an inch further and it's knocked down and it's a hard putt.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah, it's fun. Fun to watch these great shots.
And this was, and you can see too, it was kind of cool weather there. So you go from windy and cold to really windy, again, continuing on. We'll see when that changes. Josh, you brought another clip in for us. Here it is. Tell us about it.
Yeah, so just this past weekend, look, making disc golf look fun. Chandler Fry, in and of itself, this particular throw didn't change the outcome of a podium finish. But by the way, it did secure a top 10, right, for Chandler Fry. But I picked this for two reasons. One, it's just so much fun, right, to see all you can do with a disc. Look, the creative option combining both skipping and, in my opinion, the right to left wind, right? Like there's a little bit of a wind read, there's a skip read. He sees the obstacles in front of him after a drive that didn't meet his expectations. It makes it magical, right? And it wasn't lucky. It was on purpose. And it's just plain old fun to watch. But here's the second reason. I'm curious. Look, as the sport continues to evolve, like, do you think we're going to start to see, I mean, as if we don't already have decades of this happening, right? But more variety from upcoming players because they need more diversity of shots to compete in a higher competition. Of course, we have backhands, forehands, but like our roller is going to become more predominant. And what about things like intentional skip shots? I love seeing it.
100%. He switched the disc.
What does he do with his bag there? Does he change out a disc or is he getting something to dry his hand?
Yeah, I think he changed.
No, he changed. Watch right here. He changes his disc, and that's what tells me that this shot in 5 years is going to be like a staple on tour. No, maybe not the throw in. Like we're still going to appreciate a great skip in.
Exactly.
But using the skip when the course calls for it to be able to shorten your putting distance and secure your scores. Chandler Fry is just innovating right now.
And I know I mentioned it, but Matt, like my opinion is there is a wind read here because it's so windy and it's blowing in the direction to give him the skip, and he knows the plate of the disc is going to catch that wind. Do you think he was thinking wind read on this skip?
Oh, for sure.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I really believe it. I mean, it was amazing to execute it that way. I mean, the tap on the basket knows he's happy with it, but you've got to be really proud of yourself. You go back home later that day and say, hey, did anybody see that clip? You know, that you're proud of this shot. All right,
this
Jamie.
Is totally different than aces, but this is one you want to show your friends for a different reason.
That's right. Casey White had one of those with the tilt last season down in Jonesboro. So similarities. Okay, Jamie, give us your next clip here. What do you got?
All right, show and tell. I got a fun one for you guys. Check this out. Katrina Allen, excuse me, and big windy day in Texas, and.
Put on the brakes.
Do that. Look at this. Just going right towards that OB and just literally goes over the curb and back up and sits there. Like, what wizardry is this, Katrina? She's allergic to out of bounds. She went out of bounds the least in the field in Waco. I said that
now. I know why she switched to DGA. Yeah, DGA discs. They must have something going on. They're like, hey, throw our discs. You won't go out of bounds. Yeah, this is awesome. Just to see it put on the brakes. I heard this screeching sound effect there, Matt. It does certainly look like that. Like you see a little burnout, like it's kind of leaving a little bit of plastic as it just spins and it burns out. Certainly fun to watch, and it must have been a relief for her, assuming she saw it happen.
I'm not proud to say that was my own vocal sound effects there. We'll do it again. Okay, so it's pretty cool to watch. In fact, I will say, I know we're talking about this shot, but I watched Adam Hammis at the Open at Belton this week do a similar magic trick where the disc is coming in at an angle which you would normally skip away, but to see a reverse skip and not like, this was pretty magical. Awesome shot from her. I think that was a great shot as well. But we are going to take those and we're going to move on. I think they're fantastic clips to move on from. We're going to move into our question that I have brought for you that you don't know what I'm bringing. And I think
surprised?
It's just,
he wouldn't tell us before the show, everybody.
No, I said I have something to bring up.
Surprise from Matt here.
That's right. I am interested, and I know I don't think we need to tippy toe around this, but favorite players. Do you have, we're not talking about performances right now, favorite players? I'm just going to start out and take the one that I think is probably easy, but this year, especially this year, although I've watched her for a while, is Valerie Mandujano. I am a true fan, and I don't say that about very many players. I'm looking forward to watching her, whether she's performing at a high level, winning events or not. Like, I have become a fan of hers. That is a player that I'm interested in. Do you guys have any you want to disclose to us? Your favorites you're a fan of?
Well, you asked the question, do you have favorites? But you didn't say we had to tell you who. So I don't know. Like,
Do you have favorites? Yeah.
Well, here's the way I would answer it. I've actually learned, I have favorites that were my first favorites when I found the sport, right? When I understood there was a pro
who
scene,
are those?
right? So that would be Paul Macbeth, probably no big surprise. And then really Paige Pierce. So no big surprise. That's because they were the biggest names.
Has it changed? Has it changed?
Well, because they were kind of my favorite firsts, I still have a special place in my heart for them. Is that fair to say? But here's the truth: is I've seen the pro scene grow. I have learned to appreciate, like everybody across the scene for different reasons.
Very political.
I know that's political, but actually, no. Let me tell you though. Truthfully, that has happened for me because you've seen different personalities, different styles that are in it for different reasons, different approaches to the game. There may still be reasons why I pick certain people to win an event, but at the end of the day, like when you see them like in person, if you get a chance to meet them, you realize like, wow, like they all kind of deserve our admiration, at least as far as competing in the sport.
And I'll just say, I'm in similar places you as far as that goes, but I think like, here's another one, like Simon. Like I like Simon. How about you, Jamie? Who are your favorites? Do you have
Simon,
any?
that guy? I think I've met him a couple times. Yeah. Real quick, the opinions of Jamie Thomas do not represent the Disc Golf Pro Tour or any of its affiliates.
This is what I said.
Let me get that out of the way.
On the spot, right. Political.
Yeah, trying to keep my job here, Matt Graham.
I know. Look,
here's the thing I've learned about the players over the years. There's one thing to watch them on screen, and I love when records are broken. And I love when underdogs succeed. And so like I find myself being a temporary fan when one of those scenarios can happen. But the thing that I've learned over my years in the game now, and it's 12 years for me in disc golf media, is like I have come to respect the grind. The people that are out there each and every week, like whether their personalities and mine gel, like I gel with some players more than others, just kind of off the course stuff. But like, the thing that I can always find common ground with these players on and what makes me a true fan of them as people and not just athletes is the level of commitment that they truly have put in to do their part to get this game to where it is, both from the competition side and the promoting angle.
Well, okay. So you and Josh both tippy-toed. That's fair. I'm interested in the feedback from our listeners. Would you comment? Let us know who you are a fan of, not just your most favorite player. Pick who you're becoming a fan of and write it down. Let us know. We'd be interested in hearing about that. All right, Jamie, and getting close here to the wrap up, we've got a big event coming up. Tell us about it.
Yeah, headed back to Tyler, Texas State Disc Golf Championships. It was a national tour last year, now part of the Merge Tour. Welcome into the Disc Golf Pro Tour Elite Series. March 25th through 27th. Starts on this Friday. Shout out to my wife. That's her birthday coming up.
All right.
And the round coverage, 9:30 a.m. Central for the women's broadcast. The men's broadcast should begin at 3:30 p.m. Central Time. That's tournament local time. Do the math in your head to adjust for where you live, but hope you will tune in the Disc Golf Network on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, final round here on the Disc Golf Pro Tour YouTube, as always.
That's right. And I'm looking forward to it. I found some interesting news this week. I brought up Maple Hill already once. Yes, I live in Leicester, let it be known. And I heard through the grapevine that Maple Hill is selling all of their baskets. Now, this is historic venue, a bunch of historic events. I'm interested. Let me know in the comments. Give us your feedback. Guys, is a basket going to sell for more than 5,000? Is it going to sell for more than 7,000? And I'm speaking specifically of hole 16, Kevin Jones, historic ace that has gone viral around the world. What's going to happen there? We'll have to tune back in, check out Maple Hill's social media to find out what goes down with that. Guys, get out there and play disc golf, get better at it, or don't. Just enjoy the game. And until next time, everybody. We will see you out there.